VON Radio from the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
From the VON Newsline, this is the VON Major Newscast.
Good evening, I am Jarvis Bonowicz, your VON Major News Package for today, Wednesday, 10th July 2019. In our lead stories nationally, St. Kitts and Nevis tops OACS on visa-free arrival, and a monofilament bin program launched by the St. Kitts Sea Turtle Monitoring Network. Regionally, Barbados government approves shutdown policy for island in event of storm. Internationally, Sir Kim Darroch resigns as UK ambassador to the US. And in sports, New Zealand beats India to reach World Cup final. We'll have the details to these and other stories after this message.
Another look.
Different from how you've seen it before.
Another look.
Takes an in-depth look into business, politics, science, technology, religion, and more.
Another look.
Featuring documentaries from the BBC, regional features, and local ones too.
Another look.
Every Monday at 3 p.m. on the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse, VON.
Welcome back on to the national news in detail. St. Kitts and Nevis has topped the OACS on the index with a visa-free visa on arrival score of 152. This latest ranking of passport power and global mobility by Henley and Partners is based on exclusive data from the International Air Transport Association, IATA. The ranking comes as we enter the third quarter of 2019 and saw the Twin Island Federation gain visa-free access to Serbia while losing visa on arrival access to Djibouti and Benin due to the adoption of an e-visa policy in these territories. Chief Executive Officer CEO of the Citizenship by Investment CBI unit here in St. Kitts and Nevis, Mr. Lescan, noted that the ranking keeps St. Kitts and Nevis in a very competitive position.
The ranking by Henley and Partners in this index confirms St. Kitts and Nevis's strong position in the diplomatic community. We continue to engage with our partners to increase the number of visa-free and visa upon entry to a number of countries. The value of this is that it allows our program to be a strong contender, a strong competitor to clients who are looking for a place to invest their funds and also to obtain citizenship in a country that would allow them visa-free access to as many countries as possible.
Mr. Khan, in speaking to the VON Newsline, expressed that the Federation remains committed towards the continued improvement of the program so as to stay ahead of other competitors.
Competition is very strong for clientele, but what is driving our strength is the number of branded hotels that are being built under the CBI program. The fact that our due diligence is one of the strongest in the world. In fact, a recent survey conducted by a firm in Malta ranked St. Kitts and Nevis number one in the OACS, and second only to Malta in terms of the number of citizenship programs differentiate us from our competition and gives us the impetus to really move ahead and strengthen our brand.
Mr. Lescon. In efforts to reduce the amount of discarded monofilament line in the environment and to protect marine life, the St. Kitts Sea Turtle Monitoring Network SKSTMN, in partnership with a number of sponsors, have embarked on a new initiative, the Monofilament Recycling Bin Program. Monofilament fishing line is fishing line made from a single fiber of plastic. Studies have shown that monofilament fishing line can last up to 600 years in the environment under certain conditions. A variety of animals, including sea turtles, birds and marine mammals, can become entangled in this line and suffer from limb amputations and even death. These bins will allow for the collection of discarded monofilament fishing line in appropriate locations from which it will be removed and shipped to Berkeley for recycling. In the initial pilot phase, a total of 5 monofilament recycling bins are slated to be placed at different locations in St. Kitts throughout the month of July. The discarded monofilament line will be collected by volunteers weekly and recycled. With such an initiative in place, the St. Kitts Sea Turtle Monitoring Network hopes to see a reduction in monofilament line in the marine environment. Following the hosting of a successful Mango and Food Festival for 2019, the Nevis Tourism Authority is again gearing up to play its role in hosting another event geared towards promoting local cuisine. This, as the St. Kitts and Nevis Tourism Authority is set to host the 5th annual St. Kitts Nevis Restaurant Week. The event, slated to be held from July 18th to the 20th, will this year have coconut as its main ingredient. The previous main ingredients for Restaurant Week were breadfruit, pumpkin, yam, and plantain. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism here on Nevis, Mr. John Hanley, explained to the VON Newsline what the aim of holding this yearly event is.
There's a twofold objective for Restaurant Week. One is that we try to promote local eating because that is healthier and that creates linkages to our local agriculture. And also we try to showcase the wide variety of local dishes that we have.
The Permanent Secretary outlined a number of key events for Restaurant Week 2019.
The first event would be what is called the Tasting Showcase at the Eco Park in St. Kitts this Sunday, the 14th of July at 2 o'clock. And what you do, you pay a small admission fee of 25 EC and you get a chance to sample some of the coconut-based dishes from the restaurants that will be participating in Restaurant Week over in St. Kitts. They're going to have a similar showcase here in Nevis on the 20th of July at the Artisan Village. And tickets for that will go on sale very shortly. The cost also will be 25 EC, so you get an opportunity to taste coconut-based dishes from the participating restaurants here on Nevis. On Tuesday the 23rd, there will be a complimentary wine class at the Hermitage at 8 p.m. And the last event I want to point out to you is Taste the Tradition. And in that event, Randy Elliott will put out a number of dishes. Most of them will be coconut-based dishes, but you'll have other traditional dishes. And you would be able to get samples of dishes for $10.
Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism here on Nevis, Mr. John Hanley. Friday, 12th July 2019, the Nevis Cultural Village will come alive as EA Promotions hosts the 4th annual GLOFET event. The event, which is part of the pre-calendar of activities for Culture Armor 45 and powered by Digicel, commences at 10 p.m. and ends at 6 a.m. the following morning. Co-founder of EA Promotions and one of the organizers of the event, Mr. Anthony Gager, spoke to the VON Newsline about the headlining act amongst others for Friday's event.
Friday Flames will be headlining for GLOFET this year. We're extremely happy to have them. We're getting a lot of good feedback from patrons. They're excited to have them. We'll also be having Just J out of Barbados. So we're encouraging everyone to come out and see these two acts that we are bringing in. We also will have entertainment by a number of local bands and local DJs, such as SG Presidential Sound, the Blackstone Family, Hellfire International, and then we'll also have the Core Band, Grandmasters Band, and Sugar Band, the New Vibes Band.
Mr. Gager also spoke about the idea behind making the event a flag and cooler affair.
Every year so far, we've kind of changed the theme a little bit. We always provide the glow. Last year, we did a all-white affair. This year, we thought about combining the flag and cooler affair to say, well, hey, let's give the patrons the luxury of bringing in their own drinks and having a good good time and just having their drinks basically next to them. Maybe they might be in the crowd with their friends and they don't want to go to the bar for a drink. Maybe they just want to stay there. They don't want to miss anything. So we say, hey, why not give them the luxury of coming in with their own coolers? They choose what they want to drink. They bring what they want to drink. And they bring their flags to represent where they're from. You know, from any other island to a sense of national pride, no matter which island you're from.
Mr. Anthony Gager. Tickets are currently EC $50 until the day of the event. As the 2018-2019 school year comes to a close, seven of the primary schools here on Nevis have had their graduation ceremonies. They are namely the Charleston Primary, St. Thomas's Primary, Joycean Liebert Primary, Elizabeth Pemberton Primary, St. James's Primary, Violet O. Jeffers Nichols Primary, and the Maud Cross Preparatory Schools. Earlier this week, the St. Paul's Primary School in St. Kitts held its 2019 graduation ceremony. Tomorrow afternoon, Thursday, July 11th at 4 o'clock, the Ivor Walters Primary School will host its graduation and prize-giving ceremony at 4 p.m. at the Shiloh Baptist Church in Ramsbury. The proceedings will be carried live here on Von Radio. The Ministry of Education in St. Kitts has applauded two young proprietors of Unlimited Supplies Company for their contribution to the Newton Ground Primary School. At the handing over ceremony, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education in St. Kitts, Mr. William Hodge, said the gesture is commendable and he hopes to see other young entrepreneurs in the community stepping up to give back to the schools and education institutions which shaped their lives. Past students of the Newton Ground Primary School, Philip Gerald and Warren Leader, said it was a way of helping to pave the path for other young persons with a desire to forge ahead academically. Headmistress of the Newton Ground Primary School, Miss Michelle Woodley, said the donation of the color photocopier would go a long way in assisting the school with its needs, especially in support of the teachers and students. And lastly, in our national news segment, St. Kitts and Nevis and other regional territories have been urged to build resilience towards climate change. The call comes from United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who addressed regional leaders at the recently held 40th Heads of Government meeting in Castries, St. Lucia. The Secretary General told leaders that as climate-related natural disasters grow in frequency and severity, the risks to families and development overall would only intensify. Guterres noted that the region's experience makes it abundantly clear that there is an urgent need to reduce global emissions and work collectively to ensure global temperature does not go beyond 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels. In 2017, Hurricanes Irma and Maria had battered the region, causing billions of dollars in damage. He further commended the frontline efforts made by the CARICOM and the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center to deal with the climate change problem. And that's it for our national news segment. You can visit our website at www.vonradio.com, or you can check us out on Facebook at Von Radio or our Von Radio YouTube channel for these and other stories. News from across the region is next. Welcome back and now on to the regional news. Out of Barbados, Cabinet has approved a shutdown policy that will take effect in the event of a severe weather, tropical storm or hurricane warning is issued by the Barbados Meteorological Service. The revised policy framework and standard operating procedures for the systematic shutdown and reactivation of Barbados will be activated in collaboration with the Department of Emergency Management (DEM) and the Emergency Management Advisory Council. Under the revised policy, government, through the Minister of Home Affairs, will issue a national shutdown administrative instruction to shut down the country following consultation with the relevant agencies in relation to the threat. Visitors will be given an opportunity to leave the island 36 to 48 hours ahead of the expected impact, depending on flight availability. All educational institutions, including schools, preschools, daycare centers, both for children and the elderly, and the Barbados Community College, will close 24 hours ahead of impact, while visitors will also be given a final opportunity to leave the island. except for the emergency services such as the Royal Barbados Police Force, the Barbados Fire Service, the Emergency Ambulance Service, hospitals and the Department of Emergency Management. The entire country will be on shutdown 6 hours ahead of impact. In Guyana, President David Granger has intervened to prevent the jailing of Finance Minister Winston Jordan over the government's failure to pay the more than $2 million awarded by a court to Trinidad construction company Dipcon for road construction works. According to StarbuckNews.com, following his failure to secure a stay of the judge's order, President Granger invoked his power under Article 188(1)(b) of the Constitution to grant Jordan, both in his personal capacity and in his capacity as minister, respite of the execution of the punishment until all appeals and remedies available to him and the state have been exhausted. The decision was published on Monday, July 8th in the official gazette and signed by State Minister Dawn Hastings Williams. Article 188(1) empowers the President to grant to any person concerned in or convicted of any offense under the law of Guyana a pardon, either free or subject to lawful conditions. Article 188(1)(b) adds that the President may grant to any person a respite, either indefinite or for a specified period, of the execution of any punishment imposed on that person for such an offense. The French Navy has confirmed over the weekend that a jet ski bearing the registration number of the one that an American couple was riding when they went missing in Barbados last month was found off the coast of Guadeloupe. However, there was no sign of the missing duo, Oscar Suarez, 32, or Magdalena Devil, 25. According to Caribbean 360, the dispatch from the French authorities to the Barbados Coast Guard stated in part, and I quote, "Be informed that this Saturday, July 6th, the French Navy ship Ventoise has localized the jet ski registered 162H. This is in Guadeloupe, between Las Centes Islands and Guadeloupe. It seems to be the jet ski involved in your search and rescue operation concerning 2 U.S. citizens," end quote. Barbados' Prime Minister Mia Mottley and Minister of Tourism Kerry Simmons were informed of the discovery, and a statement from the government said local authorities would make contact with the families to inform them of the development. Devil and Suarez, who were visiting Barbados from New Jersey, rented a jet ski at a beach on the west coast of the island on June 24, 2019 for a half-hour ride but never returned. Oscar Suarez and Magdalena Devil have not been found. Police investigations into the disappearance continue. And lastly, in our regional news segment in the British Virgin Islands BVI, government has commenced discussions to implement harsher penalties for persons caught illegally disposing of large waste materials. Minister responsible for waste management, Calvin Malone, said the government also has plans to install surveillance cameras to monitor select waste bins in the BVI. According to BVInews.com, Malone said the current penalties for illegal dumping are too small to be a deterrent to offending residents. He said these persons prefer to risk paying a fine when they abandon their derelict vehicles and other large waste by the roadway than to pay to have these waste items disposed of the right way. While appealing to the general public to take national pride in their methods of waste disposal, Mr. Malone said government has done their part to make it easier for persons to properly dispose of larger waste materials. Despite these measures, Malone said some persons are still opting to be negligent in their disposal of waste. No date has been given as to when the waste management laws will be amended to come into effect. And that's it for our regional news stories. Stay with us for news around the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, this here's another one for the steppers.
Swipe to win big in 2019. That's right, the Bank of Nevis Limited is once again giving you, our valued customers, a chance to win big. Just swipe or use your Bond Visa credit card for US $100 for a chance to win a cruise for two, an iPhone XS, or a grocery dash at Best Buy Supermarket.
Say what?
Sign up for a Bond Visa credit card and automatically be entered for a chance to win. This offer ends August 31st, 2019. So tell your friends and family to swipe to win big with the Bank of Nevis. The Bank of Nevis Limited, improving the quality of life. Like us on Facebook or follow us on Instagram.
Welcome back on the one to the international news. Sir Kim Darroch has resigned as UK ambassador to the US as a row over leaked emails critical of President Donald Trump's administration escalates. The US president has branded him a very stupid guy after emails emerged where the ambassador had called his administration clumsy and inept. The British Prime Minister Theresa May said Sir Darroch's decision was a matter of great regret and that he had the support of the cabinet.
Good government depends on public servants being able to give full and frank advice. I want all our public servants to have the confidence to be able to do that. And I hope the House will reflect on the importance of defending our values and principles, particularly when they are under pressure.
The BBC's Caroline Hawley gives us more.
Three days since the memos from Britain's man in Washington were leaked, the diplomatic crisis it sparked has claimed Sir Kim Darroch's scalp. In a statement, he said the current situation meant he couldn't carry out his role as he would like. The responsible course, he said, was to allow for a new ambassador to be appointed. On Monday night, Sir Kim was disinvited from a banquet at the White House in honour of the Emir of Qatar. And yesterday, Donald Trump called him wacky, stupid and a pompous fool who'd been foisted on the United States.
German Chancellor Angela Merkel has been shaken for a third time in a month. Video footage shows Mrs. Merkel trembling, shaking back and forth alongside Finland's Prime Minister during a ceremony in Berlin earlier today. After the incident, Mrs. Merkel said she was very well and that there was no need to worry. The BBC's Damien McGuinness reports.
This is the third time in less than a month that Angela Merkel has been seen trembling severely at a public event. The German leader started shaking visibly while the national anthems were playing. The trembling appeared to be less severe than the first time it happened, when she was standing next to the Ukrainian president during his visit to Berlin. This time round, after a few minutes, the shaking stopped. But the incidents have sparked concern about the Chancellor's health, and it's not clear what the cause is.
Rip Torn, the US actor best known for his roles in Men in Black and The Larry Sanders Show, has died aged 88. A character actor with a 7-decade career, he won an Emmy in 1996 for playing Artie in Gary Shandling's sitcom. His sole Oscar nomination came for 1983 drama Cross Creek. Will Smith, who appeared with Torn in Men in Black and its first sequel, paid tribute by posting a picture of them together on Instagram. Family Guy creator Seth MacFarlane paid tribute to Torn's work in The Larry Sanders Show and as Bob Diamond in 1991 comedy Defending Your Life. Alec Baldwin, who worked with Torn on TV comedy 30 Rock, said he was a deeply committed, phenomenal actor and a wonderful madman. Born Elmore Rural Torn Jr. in Texas 1931, Torn moved to New York in the 1950s to study at the legendary Actors Studio in New York. Mr. Torn earned a Tony nomination for 1960 for playing the menacing Tom Finley Jr. in Tennessee Williams' Sweet Bird of Youth, a role he reprised in the 1962 film version. And lastly, in our international news segment, Niagara Falls Park police say a man was swept over a waterfall but luckily survived the drop of roughly 188 feet into the raging river below. The man was observed to climb over a retaining wall around 4 a.m. local time on Tuesday before falling over the cliff, police said on Twitter. After searching beneath the falls, police found the man sitting on rocks with non-life-threatening injuries. The man, who police have not identified, was taken to the hospital. The man was described as being in crisis near the brink of Horseshoe Falls, the largest of the 3 falls that makes up Niagara Falls. He was found on the side of the river near the Journey Behind the Falls observation platform, according to Buffalo News. Mayor Jim Diodati of Niagara Falls, Ontario, told the newspaper that he believes all-time high water levels may have contributed to saving the man's life. And that brings us to the end of our news segment. The latest in sports is next. Welcome back on the One to the Sports. In cricket, New Zealand reached the World Cup final as they produced the bowling performance of the tournament to edge out India by 18 runs in a sensational match at Old Trafford. India, chasing 240 to win, were reduced to 24 for 4 and 92 for 6 before Ravindra Jadeja and MS Dhoni produced a 116-run partnership to drag the 2011 winners back in contention. Jadeja in particular was superb, but with 37 runs needed from the final 18 balls, Jadeja hit Trent Boult high into the air and to Black Caps captain Kane Williamson to fall for 77. Dhoni struck a 6 off the first ball of the 48th over, but was then superbly run out by Martin Guptill to end India's slim chances. The scores were as follows: New Zealand 239 for 8 in 50 overs, Taylor 74, Williamson 67, Bikomar 3 for 43. India 221 all out in 49.3 overs, Jadeja 77, Henry 3 for 37, Sapner 2 for 34. New Zealand won by 18 runs. In local cricket, the grand finals of the Village Premier League Female Cricket League is slated for Sunday, July 14th at 2 p.m. at the Hard Times playing field. The two teams in focus will be the SDA Jets and the Rockets. The winning team will get $500 EC and second place will receive $300 EC. Still in local sports, the Malcolm Gishard Basketball League continued on Saturday evening, July 6th. The CG Rising Stars went up against the Dynamics. At the end of the match, the Dynamics defeated the Stars by a 13-point margin. The scores were as follows: Dynamics 63, CG Rising Stars 50. The next game will take place at the Church Ground Hardcourt on Thursday, July 11th. In athletics, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price ran 10.74 seconds to win the women's 100-meter event at the Atletissima Diamond League meeting in Lausanne, Switzerland last Friday, just outside of her joint world-leading 10.73 seconds run at the Jamaican Championships 3 weeks ago. After a faulty start to the race, Fraser-Price got off to a fast start before running away from the field to record her 11th sub-10.8 seconds mark, making up for her performance in California the previous weekend. Great Britain's Dina Asher-Smith was well beaten into second place in 10.91 seconds. The informed Ivorian Marie-Josée Talou third in 10.93 seconds. And lastly in our sports segment, in tennis, Andy Murray and Serena Williams wowed Wimbledon again as their box office partnership continued with another straight set win in the mixed doubles. Britain's Murray 32 and American Williams 37 moved into the last 16 with a 7-5, 6-3 win over 14th seeds Fabrice Martin and Raquel Ottawa. Williams produced ruthless returning to win crucial break points in each set. They now play top seeds Bruno Suarez, the former men's partner of Murray's brother Jamie, and Nicole Melikar. And that's it for sports. The weather is next. Welcome back. Tonight's weather will continue to be mostly fair with a 30% or a low chance of light showers. The weather tomorrow will be partly sunny with a 20% or a slight chance of showers. The winds are east at 15 to 30 kilometers per hour or 8 to 16 knots. The seas are 1 to 1.5 meters or 3 to 5 feet. The sunrise tomorrow will be at 5:43 a.m. And that's how we wrap up the major news package for today, Wednesday, 10th July 2019. Before we go, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nationally, St. Kitts and Nevis tops OECS on visa-free arrival and a monofilament bin program launched by the St. Kitts Sea Turtle Monitoring Network. Regionally, Barbados government approves shutdown policy for island in event of storm. Internationally, Sir Kim Darroch resigns as UK ambassador to the US. And in sports, New Zealand beats India to reach World Cup final. On behalf of the rest of the news team, I am Jarvis Brown wishing you a pleasant evening.